For all you guys,
yes.
Do any of you guys have Tony Romo, or any of you pick Tony Romo within the first 6 rounds?
Never in my life would I choose Tony Romo, so I'm going with no.
I'll just say this, that in most fantasy leagues, Tony Romo was an average pick in the 4th round.
Wow.
That's all you have to say. Mr. Interception on the 1 yard line within the 4th quarter, Tony Romo.
Hey, he's on America's team.
Yeah. I don't understand that. Everybody calls the Dallas Cowboys America's team.
How about the Patriots?
They're not very good. The Dallas Cowboys never seem to do much in the postseason, or even get to the postseason.
They always screw up. They always screw up.
Fantasy.
I'm so sorry.
So for those of you
fantasy,
guys who
going
have
to the real world, it's a
football
fantasy.
teams,
Okay.
For those of you guys who have fantasy teams, do you find yourselves rooting against the Patriots? Like if you have the Jets defense, would you root for Brady to throw a pick? Or?
I purposely never play somebody against the Patriots unless it's like a tight end or somebody not crucial. But I have Tom Brady and RG3, and I've only started Brady I think 4 of the 6 weeks because there were a couple weeks where RG3 actually did better than him. RG3 had a pretty good game fantasy point wise.
Yeah, he had a lot of rushing
had about,
yards.
15
Good when a
points,
quarterback gets a lot of rushing yards.
So RG3 has actually done pretty. As far as compared to Brady, I had expected Robert Griffin III to be my backup, but sometimes he's actually started because he's had a pretty good year fantasy point wise.
Yeah, Dylan, how about you? Do you find yourself rooting against the Patriots when you start fantasy players?
I don't know. I don't really have all my guys that really playing against the Patriots that much because there was Ray Rice that one time, and then that was the only time, and then I guess I had C.J. Spiller playing one week.
Yep,
but then.
Patriots.
Yeah, but besides that, the guys really aren't because I have a lot of the Giants guys and then David Akers. So, but I root against. I want the 49ers to stall in the red zone and then get as many field goals as possible. That's what I kind of root for, the 49ers.
Yeah, my dad has David Akers. He's always rooting for that as well.
I'm not having fun with David Akers.
Why is that?
I picked him as he was. When I picked David Akers, I thought what I'm getting here is reliability, and because if I'm correct, he had a ridiculously good field goal percentage last year.
Sigh.
He was 1 for 3 today.
That's just.
Ooh, that's a
He was 2 for 3 and 2 for 3. I mean, that's not bad, but David Akers is supposed to be like Mr. Automatic. Let's face it. And again, unlike Mike Sullivan, I unwisely did not pick Sebastian Janikowski very high. That was the decision I definitely should have made. So we're going to move on now to the scores of today's NFL games. As we await the scores. All right, first score, Thursday night. Obviously, the Patriots beat the Seahawks today. Russell Wilson had 293 yards.
We're trying. Seahawks beat the Patriots.
Seahawks beat the Patriots, excuse me. Today, on Thursday night, Tennessee upset Pittsburgh 26-23. The Pittsburgh defense underachieved for me in that game mightily. Speaking of fantasy football, Atlanta defeated Oakland 23-20 in a game where Matt Bryant made a long game-winning field goal. Baltimore defeated Dallas 31-29 off a strong performance from, as I said, Ray Rice and Joe Flacco. Cleveland defeated Cincinnati in a nice upset, 34-24 in a game which Brandon Weeden didn't play terrible. Miami defeated St. Louis 17-14, and the Jets beat the Indianapolis Colts 35-9 in a game that was a game projected to be close, but was surprisingly not. Moving on, Detroit beat Philadelphia, but Matt Stafford did not have a good game at all. Surprised that they still won, so good job by the Lions there. Tampa Bay blew out Kansas City in a game 38-10 as the Buccaneers moved to 2-5. All right, we're going to go to break, but later on in the show, we're going to talk MLB playoffs, Red Sox manager situation. We're going to have some college football and a Bruins update, and of course, our famous kicker. Who will it be this time? Up next.
Who do you like for the All-Star? Well, I think catcher for the National League would be Buster Posey. He blocks a lot, he scores a lot of runs, so I think he'll be very good. Also, he's been doing well given that he came off the DL with that broken leg. Oh yeah, and first base, Prince Fielder isn't that good. In that ballpark, he's not hitting enough home runs. I think we should do a guy like Mitch Moreland. He isn't playing all that well, but still, he's pretty good.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Young Broadcasters of America, or YBA as we call it. And one of the things we preach here is to make sure when you do color analysis that you don't state the obvious. And the king of stating the obvious was former ESPN baseball analyst Joe Morgan.
If you ask me, you should go for that pocket. The 8-ball's right there.
Thanks, Joe Morgan.
Oh, so that must mean it's not open then.
Thanks, Joe Morgan.
See that home run David Ortiz hit yesterday?
Did he hit it over the fence?
Yeah, Joe Morgan.
But David Ortiz tore you home run.
Hey, one player's not going to do it. One player is.
Oh, 180! Good.
All right, guys. So, Jordan, what do you think?
I think they did.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll both it. Hopefully.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Young, president and founder of Young Broadcasters of America. You know, I was a sportscaster in the New England area for 35 years. But when I was in high school, all I wanted to do was play sports, not report on them. Well, that certainly changed in college. And now you have a chance to get a head start on a great career in sports. All you have to do is become a student reporter of the NSSA. That's the National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association and Hall of Fame. We've teamed up with them to create 2 awards for high school kids. The Bob Costas Award for the Best High School Sportscaster and the Bob Ryan Award for the Best High School Sports Writer. Both will be handed out at the NSSA Hall of Fame ceremony in North Carolina in June. You'll get 3 reviews of your work courtesy of the pros in the business, discounts on YBA webinars, a student reporter credential card, and become a sports correspondent for your area on our Sunday sports talk show, K-Sports Sunday, live here at the YBA TV studios. Who knows? You could become the next Bob Costas or Bob Ryan. Just click on the links and give the NSSA or YBA a call for more information.
Welcome back to K-Sports Sunday. I'm Nick, your host, along with Jason in the back talk set. We're going to toss to in a second. And now we're going to discuss the MLB playoffs. Right now, the MLB playoffs, it's been kind of hard for some fans, as some fan favorites such as the Baltimore Orioles, the Washington Nationals are out. Now the 4 left, as you know, Tigers and Yankees and Cardinals, Giants. But as of now, we're going to toss to Jason now to discuss today's Tigers win over the Yankees and later's St. Louis, San Francisco game.
All right, thank you, Nick. So it's been a pretty crazy, interesting MLB playoffs. This was the first year where you have a 1-game, half regular season, half playoffs wild card game. It was Baltimore against Texas after Oakland defeated Texas to get the AL West on the last day of the regular season. And in the NL, we had St. Louis, the defending World Series champions, and the Atlanta Braves. Baltimore with an upset. They were the 5 seed, 5-1 over Texas, who was expected to go back to the World Series for their 3rd consecutive year and possibly win it this time, go out after 1 game. And St. Louis, by way of infield fly rule that was in the outfield, defeating Atlanta 6-3. So going on to the ALDS, all 4 division series matchups went to 5 games. Detroit defeated Oakland 3-2, 3 games to 2 games. New York over Baltimore. St. Louis over Washington in another upset by the defending World Series champions. And finally, we had San Francisco over Cincinnati. So that led us to the championship series. Tigers up 2-0 over the Yankees. St. Louis and San Francisco, game 1 starts tonight. We have Lance against Bumgarner. So guys, MLB playoffs, what do you think of them so far?
I think it's been a really interesting, an interesting playoffs to date. But I think the big loser in all of this has been the MLB, the A's, the Baltimore Orioles, the Nationals. These are teams that people wanted to see go on and they didn't. And these are teams that I certainly wanted to see. And so I feel like they kind of missed out. This could have been a much more interesting playoffs down the stretch. But now these teams are probably probably statistically the best. But I think that the MLB kind of missed out on a really interesting World Series possibly there. You got to feel bad for the Yankees. Derek Jeter breaking his ankle, out for the postseason, and you know nobody knows. You know he's an older guy. Nobody knows if he'll ever come back. But you know there's just so many questions regarding there. And Derek Jeter's widely regarded as such a good guy. It's kind of it's really sad even as a Red Sox fan to see him go down like that, and to see that the Yankees are now kind of going down in flames to the Detroit Tigers, who have played surprisingly well to this point.
Well, I think it was a real shame that the Nationals blew that lead against the Cardinals, because I was rooting for the Nationals all the way. I watched that whole series. I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. I'm like, then I was absolutely
Cardinals
crushed.
have playoff magic. I don't know how they do it. They somehow are able to come back and you are shocked.
I think it's because the the St. Louis Cardinals are really. I like how their team
Seattle Mariners. Boy, they're
the Seattle Mariners.
Not the Seattle Mariners.
The Houston Astros.
The Nationals, they had a 6-0 lead in the third inning. And the Cardinals scored 4 in the 9th to make it 9-7, and then didn't allow Washington to score. So it was 9-7 St. Louis when Joe Gonzalez struggled in the 5th. He had a bases-loaded walk. So very unfortunate, but a bright future for the Nationals. Hopefully, if they make it to the postseason, they'll have Steven Strasburg. Bryce Harper will be better. Hopefully have maybe free agent signings or trades during the offseason. So a bright future for the Nationals.
Yeah, and that's one thing that the fans down there in Washington, D.C. can look on, because although they didn't, they obviously didn't advance this year, they really do have a great foundation for some terrific baseball in years to come. You really look at the Nationals organization, because they were just really bad for a while, and you got to give them.
And the Expos, don't forget them.
Well, yeah, and the Expos. So you really got to give them their credit for building this team up little by little into a team that, for the next few years, is going to be World Series contenders year after year after year. Especially if Steven Strasburg can come back and do what he did this year.
And before this year, in Washington, as far as sports go, the only sport you really pay attention to was hockey. The Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
And because those are the only. That's the only team that was good up to this year.
Well, I just want to say this. Remember in 2001, 2002, Michael Jordan was a member of the Washington Wizards. And so obviously fans...
Old Michael Jordan.
Yes, doesn't matter. It's still Michael Jordan. He still sells tickets.
And RG3 coming in this year, boosted
I said
enthusiasm.
up to this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. But so I guess that if you're a sports fan in Washington, D.C., it's a good time.
Yeah, it's a really good time.
It is a good time, and your future's looking up. So
yeah,
gotta be good about that. Gotta be happy about that.
All right, so let's move on to
And then also the Orioles are another team too. They almost had against the Yankees.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then the A's against the Tigers. So all 4 series were kind of the teams for the MLB fans were more rooting for the other teams. All the teams lost, people were rooting for mostly because it was going to be a new team. Like the Reds haven't done much in a while. The Nationals haven't, the A's haven't, and the Orioles haven't. So all the teams that people were excited about in the finally making the playoffs and thought they could make a run ended up not. Yeah. So now it's kind of going to be team still wins. St. Louis and San Francisco. They were in the World Series the last 2 years. And Tigers are a great team. They almost were last year, and the Yankees were before. So it's definitely old teams that have been good before that are going to win a World Series.
Yeah, definitely. All right.